been seen.
You have to time it right, otherwise it doesn't work.
You said that after you tried to say it and you were muted.
I know, I realized that, but I know I still had time because the transition count.
I saw that. I looked over as I hit the transition and you were talking and I didn't see anything. Your muffin comment didn't make it, though.
I didn't make a muffin.
No, Jeremy.
For clarification, I made no muffin comment.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers. This is Season 6, The Wild Beyond the WitchLight, and this is Episode 13, Here to There, in our ongoing campaign, Dungeons & Dragons campaign. It's a little mixture of homebrew and modules from 5th edition and 3rd edition and whatever else I slip into there. You're in for a treat with this group. We're going to get into the game recap and start playing here in just a moment. A couple of quick announcements. First off, Dawnbringers is brought to you by Session Zero Clothing. Session Zero Clothing are makers of some nerdy clothing like t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, long sleeve t-shirts. There's some stickers, all kinds of really cool stuff. You can follow that affiliate link and use code MTD0 to get 10% off of your order and represent your nerd cred. We also have Talon and Claw as a channel sponsor. You can check out their Etsy shop. They are makers of fine wooden dice accessories like this one that I can't get a hold of. There we go. Like this dice vault with this powerful magnets. This is my Thor's Ire set of dice, also from Talon and Claw. You can follow the link to their Etsy shop. Use code MTDClaw and get 10% off of your purchase there. Let's see what else. Looking up above Dan and V's heads, you will see that in the last session, the Dawnbringers burned through a whole heap of domain dice. Domain dice are a way that you, the viewers, can have a little bit of an influence on the game simply by subbing, resubbing, gifting subs. You can cheer with bits or tipping, all that stuff. We'll earn them domain tomes, dice that they can use for things like re-rolling, making me re-roll, all the way up to their favorite use of domain dice, which is the super critical, turning any hit into an automatic super crit, which is double max damage. Our high damage dealers especially love using those, but I think everybody's gotten in the action several times lately. I think there were 4 or 5 super crits against the Hag last week. If that keeps dipping down, because I keep making them fight against higher level monsters, they're going to need your help. The last thing that I want to mention before we get into our game is, of course, to remind you that you matter. Your presence on this earth makes a difference. Whether or not you believe that, it's true. Maybe you're struggling right now for whatever reason. That's okay. It's okay to not be okay, but we want you to know that you don't have to struggle alone. If you or someone you know is in need of mental health or other services, we encourage you to visit findahelpline.com, or you can check out takethis.org/mental-health-resources. These helplines are available to you free of cost to provide confidential, non-judgmental spaces staffed by supportive people who provide immediate support, counseling, and information. You can access this URL at any time you are in our chat simply by typing !help, as has already been done. And it will periodically appear in the chat as well on a timer, just as a little reminder. In fact, it'll even show up at the bottom of the stream here, because we want even our VOD viewers to be able to see that message as well. We encourage you to bookmark this site for yourself or for a friend, just so you have it. And remember, you matter. With that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. So, recently, you have been making your way through the realm of Prismeer, which you are quickly learning has been divvied up by the Hourglass Coven. 3 hags that have claimed what was once the Archfey Evangeline's domain. You made your way through a place called Hither, where you eventually found your way to Bavlorna Blightstraw, or Slackjawed Lorna's lair. She tried to coerce you into some things and implicate you in a treasonous plot amongst her soggy court of bullywugs. But the Dawnbringers, you were having none of that. And you dealt with Bavlorna in the way that you know how, which is with lots of supercriticals. Unfortunately, it appears that in her final form, she burst into dozens and dozens and dozens of tiny frogs, many of which escaped through a drain in what was left of her pool. But you were able to recover some important items to you, namely Rollo's curiosity and the heart of Octavius, a brother whom Cantriel had not seen for over 100 years, who was forlornly playing the double flute in a grove of mushrooms, having made a deal gone sour with Bavlorna. And in the aftermath, one of you also managed to save 2 of the lost crew members of the ship, the Evangeline, rescuing Arnold, who was with the Harengon Brigands, and also disguised or transformed into a Lornling was Giselle, one of the other survivors, who did also provide some aid in your final confrontation. Arnold showed up with the Harengon Brigands, and they ferried you across the swamp to the shores, where you were able to sort of gather your wits about yourself. And the last thing that you heard Cantriel was that your brother Octavius said that he knows where your sister is. She is with a Chardalon. So we're going to pick up sort of in this space, not terribly far, in not a huge time jump, long enough that at the very least you've had a short rest. But if you would like to have, you could have, under the protection of the brigands, spent an entire 8 hours here to get a long rest. I will leave that decision to all of you.
Well, I would have to ask, like, Hermes was knocked unconscious. Like, is he okay? Are we able to ending or something to kind of put him back together?
Yeah, he's fine. I can use my tools to bring
Okay.
him back, and then he goes back up to full within a few minutes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that, because I had tried to heal him and I'm like, it didn't work before we,
Nope.
We ended right at the end of the battle, so there was no time to invest. But, all right, cool.
It was a little bit of a C-3PO situation, but Fig was able to gather the bits, and or somebody gathered Hermes up, and Fig was able to repair Also, I just to remind you, because this is important for you, V, the modified Sempercavatina is back in your inventory.
Cool.
I had to pull it out in order for the changes to work, and then attune it and equip it, so it might be in a slightly different order than you had it, but everything is there. Also, I lied when I told you once a day you can cast shield. It's actually 3 a day that you can cast shield on yourself using the bow. So sorry, you were about to say something, but I wanted to interject that piece.
There is no way Cantriel would be like, okay, I saved my brother, bye.
Right.
She'd want to be able to spend some time with him, to be perfectly honest. Just by nature of, they have been apart for over 100 years, and she thought him dead, and now he's not. So I could very much see her kind of like just, going to the far side of where everyone is, so the two of them could just catch up, and she can let him know all the things that have happened and explain the bow, etc., and everything like that with him.
And I imagine there's, for the most part, this is a very private time away from everybody else. You had summoned Melody, your mother, in the shadow form, who is the sentient form of this bow. And the three of you are sort of having a bit of a private reunion. I would say during your conversations, having returned Octavio's heart to him, he's no longer as pale, and he's definitely in much better spirits, and he does have some memories, but because of the deal he made with Bavlorna, there's a lot he doesn't remember, and it takes a lot of memory jogging to get him and to remember what he said. And every once in a while, as you're talking, you'll see him sort of staring into the middle distance, and he'll look around, and then he'll just suddenly like put a hand on your shoulder or your knee, and he'll go, Cantriel? Like he's momentarily disassociating and has to reach out to you or looking around just to sort of, like, he can't believe this is real. Is there anything you would ask Octavio specifically?
Do you want to stay here, or do you want to go back home? Cottage outside the summer court.
I don't want to be here anymore. And he kind of looks, he won't ever look directly at where, now that the mists are cleared, the center of the pond where Bavlorna's cottage was is very visible. The cottage, what's left of it, is visible, and he won't look directly at it. I do not want to be here. If you know how I can get home, then that would be where I would want to go.
Verity. And she'll tap the pin.
It takes a moment, and Verde sort of appears. Basically, I imagine it's almost like the color leaching out of the pin and taking physical form, and Verde appearing. I feel like I gave Verde a very ridiculous voice.
You did. Hello. Very, very foppish.
Yes, I think it was something like this, wasn't it?
Yep. Yes, with a little flair to it.
You called, Cantriel?
I need you to get Octavio home. To the family cottage.
Well, that's,
I know it's not here in the Feywild per se, but it is in the Feywild.
That is something I can certainly try to do. Where we are in the Feywild is kind of difficult to navigate through the mist. I wonder if there's a way that we can maybe get him through a Fey crossing to the material plane. From there, getting back to the Feywild, wow, that should be a breeze. I haven't seen any Fey crossings around here.
I don't want to bring him along with us too long. There's things that could happen. There's battles that we can get through. But he's not the man he once was. I just got him back. I couldn't stand losing him because I selfishly kept him right next to me.
I have an idea. Wait here. And Verde flaps his wings and takes off, and you see him sort of flitting around through. This is a pretty hopping camp, pun intended, as Harengon brigands are everywhere, and he's sort of flitting around talking to some of the different Harengon, and then after a few moments he comes back and Arnold is with him. You notice that Arnold is wearing Agden Longscarf's long blue scarf. Verde here tells me you need somebody to look after your brother and see if we can't get him home.
Yes, if it's possible.
Well, now that you've found Giselle, and hopefully you'll be able to find the others. The Harengon brigands will have to come up with a better name. They've elected me to take over for Agden, and they are willing to help us find a way home. So that is going to be our primary job now. While you continue to do whatever it is you are doing and searching for Evangeline and the others, we are going to be actively looking. We can keep your brother safe if you will entrust him to our care.
You I trust.
He gives you a nod and sort of just bows his head, placing his hand over his heart. Well, we may not have a ship anymore, but in my eyes you are still my captain.
Fine, yes. Thank you.
Trust that he is safe with us. And as long as we are out searching, we will keep him safe, and we will always have a presence at our base of operations. So, one way or another, you will be able to get a message to us. And if you can, send the others if you find them.
Of course.
One other thing that Octavio, sorry, I hesitate every time because in the adventure module there's literally an Octavius. Octavio, during this time, since you're all essentially taking a long rest here, and you're spending this time with your family, in fragments, what you learn from Octavio is very troubling. Part of the reason that he tried to make this deal with Bavlorna to forget the past was not just around being separated from you and the rest of the family. You learn that the reason he was so distraught by it is he knows that it was your sister's fault that the family got separated. And your sister has been working things behind the scenes for quite some time, according to him. And he tried to confront her, and she spared his life. But when he tried to confront her, he found that she was not the person that you grew up with. She had changed for the worse. She had been dabbling in dark draconic magic and had fallen in with and apparently risen in ranks in a draconic cult of a Shardalon. He can't give you any specific details, because every time you try to press him on that, that's where he gets fuzzy and starts to disassociate. It seems that even though his heart has been returned, the magic of Bavlorna did some permanent damage. But you feel free if you want to try to ask any additional questions on that.
Are you sure you're remembering correctly?
The only thing I'm certain of is that I can't remember anything precisely. Almost every memory is like trying to grasp fog. I can feel the effects of it. Every once in a while, something takes hold, and then it's gone.
I'm going to find out the truth.
Please, whatever you do, be careful.
I'll get through it.
I know.
I have my friends.
They look like formidable friends. It's quite an eclectic group of friends you have there. You see his gaze just sort of panning across Fig repairing Hermes and the two dwarves and little Rolo flitting about and Drown doing what Drown does, whatever all of you are doing during this time. But then he says, yes, your friends are... It's good. Cantriel, be careful. Sonata is not to be trusted. I'm afraid she's dealing in dark magic. And this is probably the third or fourth time he's told you the same thing. As he seems to, anytime a memory comes forth, he grabs hold of it and moves with it.
I think now you need to rest. Stay with the brigands. They'll protect you. They're in good hands.
He takes your hand and he looks at you. And you can see his eyes are shifting back and forth, and he's looking around at your friends. He gets really close. Cantriel, can you trust all of your friends? Are they... They are... If you say that you can trust them, then I believe you. And he's leaning... He's probably closer to you than you would let anybody else get. This is your brother. He leans in very close and he says, I'm being manipulated. Don't believe everything I've said.
You've been under the control of a hag.
I think
I remember the library Father had, full of all the books of the various creatures and the stories and their abilities.
The library. I remember the library. And you see probably for the first time he smiles.
Your side's chair, the cat who insisted on scratching the one side, Father's pipe always turned over, ash spilled out on the floor, much to Mother's consternation. The window cracked to let the smoke out and fresh air in, and the sunlight would play through the panes every so often, making rainbows dance across the spines.
The rainbows, the cat would always try to get into the brightest of the colors. It was... It was Sonata's cat.
Yes.
Because Sonata was always in the library.
Yes.
She was always the smarter of us. Well, me. I don't mean to insult you.
No, I was the clever one. She was the smart one. You were the sweet one.
Cantriel, I don't know who, what, or why, but they want you to believe that Sonata is something she is not.
Because anger makes you weak. Grief creates blind spots.
You notice as you are, the more you are talking to him and having these conversations, you can almost see his demeanor change a little bit. It's like you're cutting through this fog and this damage that Bavlorna did. Can you make me a persuasion roll at advantage?
Okay. Sure. Okay, a 17 plus 14, or...
I was going to say it's a 30 what?
Or an 18 plus 14. You can take your pick.
The more you have you're talking with him, and you find that this particular line that you were taking with him, giving him anchors of memory. It seems to, the more of these you put down, he seems to physically stand a little bit taller, and he stops disassociating and he starts speaking less cryptically and more coherently. I think I know. I don't know exactly where Sonata is. But no, it's not where they said she was. Those were lies. They were trying to... They wanted you to believe that. Do you know of Dyad? The druid. I'm going to give you all a memory jogger because it's been literally probably real world
Wasn't that like way
2 years
back at
ago.
the Citadel?
Oh yeah, okay, it'd be
Say
even
that
longer than that. Almost 4 years ago.
probably predated me, but that rings a bell.
So
I
There's-
thought, was that the Citadel?
there's
group?
2 points you heard Dyad. One may have been all the way back at the Citadel when you first learned of Ashardalon. I believe it came up again during the Heart of the Nightfang Spire. When you learned
Montage, right?
during the memory montage, when you learned of the manipulation of Lady Vantage,
Yep.
and Dyad was the one who was a very powerful druid who a long time ago was responsible for killing and imprisoning, subsequently imprisoning Ashardalon. That Sonata went in search of Dyad. She thought she had a way, or at least an idea of what could be done to stop Ashardalon once and for all. It's not the cult of the dragon. It's Dyad's druid circle that she's trying to align with.
That makes more sense. If she found out any type of connection. Yes, that Dyad. We'll look for
Yes.
Dyad.
I will stay with your friends. And with the rabbit folk. I will help them try to find a way not only for me to get home, but a way that you and your friends can return home as well. Please be safe, Cantriel.
I will be if you will be.
I think I'll be okay. And you have the next several hours that you are basically able to spend time with your brother. Obviously, you're resting during some of that, but you have this period of time. During this long rest and immediately following the events, what is everybody else? What would you be up to? Fig, what are you doing?
I think Fig is Fig is tinkering with Hermes. I think this is one of the first times he's really seen Hermes go down like that. I'm trying to think. I don't so I feel like Fig is being a little bit parental
I don't
in his
remember ever seeing Hermes take damage, much less get dropped.
He's taken some damage, but yeah, I don't think he's ever been dropped. So I think Fig is being very like parental, just like as he's like putting him back together, just like double checking. Does this feel all right? And how is this working? Is your head on straight? I think it's a little crooked, as he like is looking at Hermes. Probably maybe it gets to the point where Hermes maybe is getting a little impatient and he starts kind of like wiggling and moving in place.
You've put my head on backwards, you big furry oaf. I gotta slip Star Wars references in whenever I can. I would like you to make me a do you have any proficiencies with Tinker tools or any of that? Any tool sets like that?
I only have proficiency with alchemists, not my smith tools that he uses.
Okay.
So,
I'll have you make a a general dexterity or sleight of hand, whichever.
Know that there's somebody who is good at smith tools that, worships the smith god in your party. Just saying.
Good old Thorgarn, worshiper of Moradin Smith.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Fig is feeling a little like protective over Hermes right now. So I'm gonna re-roll that. I'm gonna use it to make that. With that said,
I'm very protective of Hermes.
Yeah. What's this thing do? That's a 21 now instead of a 7.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to get everything fitted in, and with a 21, you actually notice that while you're reattaching Hermes' head, that there are a couple of Hermes is a clockwork and not, so there's not like wires and all that kind of stuff. There's runes, there's cogs, there's crystals, a little bit of arcana mechanical type stuff, as well as mechanical. But you notice there's a section where a couple of gears have been shifted so that there's a whole like clockwork mechanism that's not activated. And you probably only noticed this because as you were looking to see how to affix the head properly again, you noticed some of these arcane crystals inside were not lit. Would you attempt to reconnect those?
I think Fig would wait. I think this he would go to Thorgarn at some point for after he is sure that Hermes is feeling okay and his butt. I do think that it probably doesn't take long because Fig is so curious. He can't get that out of his mind, those unworking crystals. So he would go up to Thorgarn and Thorgarn, I have a favor to ask. As I'm sure Hermes is running, he like stops and like reaches and grabs his arm and pulls him in. You see here, and he points at like in amongst some of the working cogs, this crystal is not lit. It should be. I think that there is something more to Hermes. Another mechanism.
So, I don't really have tinker's tools or knowledge or arcana. I know how to, hit metal with a hammer properly. So I look at it. Is there anything that seems out of sorts? Anything that, Thorgarn would notice?
I will let you make a knowledge check.
Yeah, I'm really good
An
at
intelligence check. And I'm going to let you do so with advantage because you have the information that Fig has given you.
Just straight intelligence. Unless religion helps, I got no intelligence skill. Well, I got a 6 and a 16, so it's a 16.
Okay. You can tell enough about the way the arrangement of everything that this doesn't look like it's in any way going to cause problems. It does. I would say what your knowledge tells you specifically, Thorgarn, is you can see tool marks on the gears where it looks like where a couple of the gears would have been engaged to cause the whole mechanism to work. You can see where they were forced away from the other gears.
So I'll point that out to Fig, and if I have to like ask Hermes to stop or orient a little this way or that way, and I'll point out those specific locations. and say like, maybe those gears have to come out and be replaced, or like, bend, reshaped back into the way they're supposed to be.
Interesting. I wonder why they were disconnected.
Well, have you looked in here, like, since he joined us? Like, could this have been happened since prior to him joining our party?
I have not looked. He has not been a part. This is the first time that I have seen this.
It does look like, with your knowledge check, that you could potentially get a tool in there and basically pry the gear back into position. It's not so much that the gears are out of shape, it just looks like somebody reached in with a screwdriver and forced it back to no longer connect to the other ones.
So would mending set it right, or would it actually require a tool check?
It doesn't require any checks whatsoever. The checks were to identify it. You now know and have enough knowledge. Anybody can stick a screwdriver in there and
okay.
shift
Well, what
it
I was
over.
saying is, could I do it via spell, or do we have to like?
No, it's something physically that just needs to be maneuvered into place.
So it's possible I could get in there, just pry it back into place if you think that. Good thing. You know a whole lot more about constructs than I do.
I think Fag would turn to Hermes. Hermes, do you know what this mechanism did? Can I turn it on? Would that be okay with you? Okay. Fig says as sure. The last thing he did was a head nod, which is perfect. That's all he needed to know. So he nods to Thorgarn after kind of looking around. Let's do it.
So I pull out, the of my hammers and I guess tongs, and I reach in there and kind of reshape it the way it's supposed to be.
Damn it, Dan. Sorry you got me with that. Yes, you can do that, and you're able to give it a couple delicate taps, and you see that each time you kind of tap with the hammer that gear moves over a little bit, and then once it moves into position, you hear this sort of and then you see 3 or 4 of those arcane gems just go boom, boom, boom. And inside you see this clockwork mechanism just go, and you just hear that little bit of something powering up.
Big takes a step back and looks at Hermes. He also has his notepad out, like he's ready to take notes. And do you feel any different, Hermes?
Hermes, feel different. It's a variation of your own voice that you hear back.
Oh, that is unexpected.
Unexpected. Unexpected.
Big looks to Thorgarn and then back to Hermes. Can you say anything else, or are you mimicking?
Mimicking, saying. Somewhere behind you, like just a little, like maybe 15 feet behind you, there's a couple of the Herringons that are trying to maneuver one of the flatboats, and one of them gets his hand jammed by the boat, and he goes, "Ah, damn it!" And Hermes just goes, "Ah, damn it! Damn it! Damn it!"
Big like scribbles notes down.
They're like beyond apparently the ability to speak. Does there seem to be any other noticeable differences?
It looks like somebody deliberately disabled Hermes' speech abilities at some point in his past. Remembering that prior to you having Hermes, Archimedes was the captain over all of the automatons.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you
Probably used to talk as fast as he runs.
So is Archimedes the one that's in my head?
Yes.
I'm gonna see if I can ask Archimedes. Was he the one that disabled, or she, I believe, disabled Hermes' speech gear?
Oh, bother. You let him talk again? You're gonna regret that. You hear sort of distant in the back of your mind.
Why do you feel we're going to regret it?
Trust me. Once he starts talking, good luck getting him to stop.
Well, maybe we'll have better luck than you did.
Right after Drown says something about him talking as fast as he walks, Hermes, walk fast. Hermes, talk fast.
Hermes exist fast.
So basically, you have learned or unlocked Hermes' ability to speak, but he basically has the speech capacity of a Kenku.
He has a blank
Nice.
vocabulary. He's got to
Yep.
rebuild it.
I love it. Fig has shown no signs of annoyance at all. In fact, he is just overjoyed and is just trying to get Hermes to say, like, just teaching him words. Like,
Pig is going to use Hermes as like the little voice recorder
Oh,
that
no.
scientists use while they're experimenting in the lab.
It's okay. Talmud has
I got an
already
idea.
determined what he's going to teach him. So
I got an idea. I would like you to roll a D100. I'm going to roll a D100 as well. Just see what you get.
it's a 61.
Okay. I was just seeing there was a percentage chance that Hermes had the ability to store recorded dialogue, but he does not. You rolled well outside of that. But that's what the check was while you were fixing him, was if you rolled over a 20, you discovered that his voice box had been deactivated. So you're over there teaching Hermes all kinds of words. What about the dwarves? What are you doing? Well, besides helping with the Hermes situation, if there's other things you wanted to do, Thorgarn, but also
are
Talmud.
we still there at the shack?
No, you were brought to the shore.
Okay.
I mean, you
Never
could
mind.
go back to the shack if you wanted to. You can see the cottage from here. It's in the middle of the pond. It was sort of, the whole center section was broken apart and was kind of collapsing in on itself.
That's right.
So it's kind of like a condemned building, but I mean, if you wanted to go back there, you could.
I forgot about the whole collapsing thing. I was gonna look and see, whether there's other things that were left behind, possibly that belong to people who've made a deal with her.
I would say that what you do find is that during this 8-hour period, I mean, most of these Herringons spent much of their time in the employ of Bavorna. stealing things for her. They had to give her a cut of everything they stole. So they absolutely would have gone in. I mean, they're basically like scavengers going in and pawing over everything. So they would have gone through and brought back some things. One of the things that they brought back would have been the stag skull that belongs to Clapperclaw, the scarecrow.
I think we had talked about grabbing that on the way out.
Well, whether you
so
grabbed
no.
it or they grabbed it,
Somebody did.
somebody did, and he has his. You, among other things, would be that over on one of the boats, you actually see a couple of. You see them pulling behind them the lily pad that was in the pool. That seems to stay afloat. The bobbing lily pad is a magical item. There are 3 potions. There is. I know there was something else in here. Where did it go? Okay. There are 3 scrolls. A helmet. And a wand. So 3 potions, a helmet, the lily pad, 3 potions, 3 scrolls, a wand, a helmet, and a lily pad. The Haragon are claiming scavengers' rights and want some of the stuff. So if you want anything,
so
do what?
I have identify, so I could identify, the lot. I mean, it would take
Okay.
An hour and a half to do it.
Okay, well, for better or worse, or whether you tell them what everything is specifically, you open a rift when you cast Identify on the Identify scroll. I'm just kidding. The 3 scrolls are all scrolls of Identify. The helmet is a helm of telepathy that it does require attunement. The 3 potions are a potion of getting small. That word always trips me up. Diminution. A potion of growth and a potion of invisibility. So, potion of no-seum, a potion of shrink, and a bottle of Viagra. Sorry.
A potion of big.
In before Jeremy said it. Was that all? Oh, and the lily pad. The lily pad is a 10-foot diameter leaf. It's a giant lily pad. But the tendrils that reach down into the water allow it to propel across land and water as if on the air. So it's basically like an organic hovercraft. It can move at a speed of 20 feet and it can hover. You tell it what direction you want to go, and it can carry up to 300 pounds without hindrance. It can carry up to 600 pounds but moves only 10 feet. And it requires attunement. And it's not something that's portable. I mean, you could use it as a vehicle, but you can't like fold it up or store it or anything like that. So if you or your party want any of these items...
What was the wand?
Oh, and the wand. The wand is a wand of secrets. Which I didn't bring that one up, but I believe you cast it, and if within... has 3 charges, and within 30 feet of you, it will reveal hidden doors or secret passages, traps, things like that.
I would share with the party, what was found. Obviously, the Harengon want to cut. And immediately jumps out at me. The scrolls are useless in my opinion. I can identify as a ritual. I don't know how much use we have for a lily pad. I think that might be fun for them. Helm of Telepathy might be something useful for us, and I like the potions.
The lily pad will certainly be more useful for the Harengon.
So you want to keep the helm, the wand, and the potions?
I mean, the wand helps find secret doors and stuff, you said?
Yes.
We already have Cantriel super magic eyes. I don't think we really need more than that. I mean, if somebody wants something out of here, I have to look up the Helm of Telepathy. I'm not wearing any magic helmets, so I could on if nobody else wants it.
Fantastic. But yes, feel free to look it up.
The wand,
I'm already
to
things like up to my ears.
The Helm of Telepathy lets you use an action to cast Detect Thoughts from it. As long as you're concentrating, you can use a bonus action to send a telepathic message to whoever you're focusing on. And it can reply with a bonus action while you continue focusing. You can also cast Suggestion on the person you are detecting thoughts on.
Yep. I have an open attunement slot, so if
roll me a persuasion check.
Yeah, Thorgarn's not good at these either. $14 on the die means it's a 15.
Okay. 10. The Harengons, in sort of this, I imagine there's a several minutes long discussion about who gets what. They seem pretty appeased by the idea of getting this very large lily pad that magically floats, and the fact that it's bigger than all of the little things that you got seems to be enough to convince them. And Arnold actually would be interested in the Wand of Secrets, that it will aid, saying that it will aid them in their search for a way to get home.
All right, so we can give them the lily pad.
Yeah, they got the lily pad and the wand. You kept the helm, the 3 potions, and you were going to give them the scrolls of identify as well?
Yes. Unless somebody else really feels like we need it. Pretty sure that Fig and I have identify and can cast it, whenever. For me as a forge cleric, it's automatically prepared, so I don't even have to like oh no, I didn't prepare it today. Cast it out of his book.
Perfect.
Arnold wants the wand.
Drown, what are you doing during all of this?
probably chatting back and forth with Rollo now that she's got a bajillion questions and observations and all of that.
Oh yeah, Rollo's all over the place. Rollo's basically perched on your shoulder going, and what does that mushroom do? And what about that flower? And what's that tree? Can I eat that?
Most of Drown's back and forth is, I don't know. He'll spend some time tossing pebbles into the swamp, and then the water will throw them back and he'll catch them.
Just in taking leisure time while you rest up?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
Doesn't have much to get involved with repairing constructs or long lost siblings, all of that.
Talmud, what about you?
I think at some point Talmud would approach Cantriel with a cup or a tankard or something that has a little bit of Kirgan that he's kind of poured in the bottom of it. And as he approaches, some point when her and her brother have separated for a moment, he'll bring it to her. Triel, are you okay? And offers her
Not
the cup.
entirely. She takes
Hi.
it.
He kind of like looks over at the brother. I can only imagine that it's a little difficult to be reunited with someone that you, well,
Talmud, you don't have to imagine. You've been through it. Someone you thought
know.
was dead, essentially.
Well, I suppose maybe, perhaps that's why I wanted to check to see if you were all right.
I don't know what I expected. I never expected to actually see him again.
It is a punch in the gut, as they say.
I just want him to be safe. I don't want him to be caught up in any of this anymore.
I definitely understand. And though Yesha's not really my brone, she's a sort of second chance, if you will, and I very much want to look out for her as well. I feel the same. I don't want her to be a part of this anymore. I just wanted you to know that whatever it is that I can do to make sure that your brother is safe and sound, and that if it'll give you a peace of mind, well, then I'll be happy to do it.
I know. Because I felt the very same for you.
Well, that's very fine stuff, so don't let it go to waste.
She goes to take a sip and then almost drops it, but she's actually
What?
pretending just because
Oh. It grabs his chest.
you know me better.
Still. Well, if you want any more Kirgin, or whatever else, I'll be over there, giving Thorgarn a hard time.
That works. Thank you.
Of course. He kind of nervously departs.
As Talmud walks away, you hear something that, again, you haven't heard in over 100 years. You hear Octavio laughing as he's in some shared joke with a couple of the Harengon that he's talking with, and you hear the deep boisterous laughter of Arnold as well. That somebody's told a joke and they're all laughing, and his spirits just seem so much better than what they were. All signs of that despair gone. You see more of the Eladrin that you knew and loved so long ago. Eventually, you all take to resting, getting the rest you need. So if you haven't done so already, absolutely hit your long rest buttons. And somewhere in the morning, you are awoken by the sound of thunder. And flashes of lightning, but no rain. And I think it's been established that Drown, you get up before everybody else. And do you go for a swim in the pond like you normally do your swim, or do you?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a little murky, but
various murk and quality of the water doesn't seem to, I mean, register to him even as much as phase him. So
yeah, it's definitely it's cool, but definitely nowhere near as cold as when you were up north in Icewind Dale. But yeah, and I would say coming out of the water after your swim, when you come back to the shoreline, you hear the thunder and see the lightning, and you see the source, which is the lightning storm cloud balloon, which oh my gosh, I completely lost their name. The bullywug that was piloting it for you.
Yep. Nope. Gone. Didn't write it down.
It begins with an M. It begins with an M. Hold on. I have it right.
Mulligluck?
What'd you say?
Muglump.
Mulligluck? Something like that? Mulliglug?
Morgort.
Oh, there you go.
You're close. Morgort. Morgort, and presumably with the help of the Herringons, they disconnected the little shop stand or whatever that was at the bottom that this was attached to, and they have attached a reinforced bullywug hut that has had windows cut out of it all the way around it so that it can accommodate more people, because that tiny little hut was not going to accommodate all of you. But at this point, everybody gets up and gets around, and you have transportation via storm cloud balloon to the realm of Thither. If there's anything you want to do now, when you click on Morgort, they say, "Are you ready to go?" Or, "No, I have a few more things I'd like to do." So, does anybody have anything else they need to do before they leave?
I don't think so.
All right. So, a few goodbyes are said. Once again, Octavio assures you that he is well. He seems even better after getting some rest, and Giselle and Arnold bid you all farewell as you all board the modified basket under this bullywug
Hut.
Thunder Hut. Henceforth, it shall be called the Thunder Hut. As you all climb inside the Thunder Hut, preparing for transportation, Morgort begins working the controls, and you see the cloud seems to billow a little bit more, and there's a and every time it thunders, it begins to rise, and you feel a slight swaying back and forth gently of the basket as the storm rages overhead, and you begin flying northward and then westward And before long, the land of Hither disappears into the clouds and mists beneath you, and for a while that's all you see is the gray, cold mists. And Morgort assures you that they're going the right way. They're going the right way. And you travel for quite a while before you begin to smell floral scents on the air, and you begin to the smell of mud and mucky water and a little bit of decay of the swamp has left you completely, and you begin to smell the sense of a forest, trees and flowers and vegetation, but there's a hint of decay, like vegetative decay, like you would expect either in late fall or early spring. And then the mists begin to grow into thinner, wispier tendrils and begin to part around you. And you see an expanse before you of a verdant forest. For miles and miles and miles, you see it stretching. Off in the distance in different directions, you can see the mists encroaching that the Hourglass Coven has used to segregate their various lands here in what was once Prismere. You see peaks of small mountains and rock formations rising up out of the trees. And you see a few clearings here and there. And in the distance, a river snakes its way from the southeast, meandering north, branching off in a few places. Off in the distance, to the northwest, you see an area of this verdant forest that seems, the more it gets towards the mists in that direction, you see almost as if the trees are changing colors, as if in autumn. But the further they go towards the central area, you see trees are even leafless and brown. There's something that seems to be causing the vegetation to wither and rot in that area. You can just make out the sounds of bird song and other animals rising up from the forest beneath you. They seem to be getting a little bit louder as you realize that the tops of the trees of the canopy are growing rapidly closer. And Morgort continues to say, I got it under control. It's all, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I've got it under control. Okay. I don't have it under control. And they're like pulling on levers, and you hear the thunder going. And you realize the storm cloud overhead sounds like when a storm is moving off into the distance. The thunder has that distant rumble sound. And Morgort goes, shit. And you hear one last peal of thunder as you see through the window a storm cloud with tethers dangling beneath it drifting off away from you. And Morgort says, brace yourselves. And that's where we're going to take our break. We will see what happens when we come back in about 10 minutes. We are going to take a short break, and we will see you on the other side. And we're back. You have just realized that the thundercloud balloon has separated from your thunder hut, and it is now a plummet hut, as your hut is beginning to spin wildly out of control as you are heading towards the canopy. What would you do? Is there anything you would attempt to do to try to mitigate the impending disaster of falling?
Big is going to cast Featherfall on
How many can you cast it on?
5. But I think
can get
Talmud
one
has
more.
a cloak or something. Or he's like, no.
Yeah, because I can get 5 too.
So
Really,
there's
between Cantriel and Fig, we could featherfall everyone.
4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. There's 9 total of you in this.
Yeah,
Yeah, perfect.
yeah, featherfall together.
Okay. So you're all going to start to fall slower, but you're inside the hut, which is still falling at its regular rate. So now all 9 of you are up in the ceiling of the Thunder Hut. It's better slightly. The top of the hut is sort of conical shaped, and it is thatched, and yeah, so that's your situation now. You're all slightly falling slower, but you're inside something falling faster. Is there anything else you want to do, as 2 of you have cast Featherfall?
Break the ceiling.
Yeah, I was gonna say Talma's gonna start working on the ceiling, trying to create a skylight.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about all assist?
I would say I'm not going to make you roll for it because it's literally a thatched roof. So yeah, you begin making very quick work of this, and you find that once you sort of break away the top section and that peels away, the rest of it starts going. All this straw starts flying into the air, and then suddenly beneath you, the hut peels away and just tumbles end over end, and crashes somewhere down into the treetops below you. You have a little bit of forward momentum on you all as you begin drifting down towards the forest floor, but with the aid of the Featherfall, you basically all land in a large group, landing around nearby, as all around you. Sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at once. Thank you, Buzz Lightyear, for gifting a couple of subs to the community. That's going to earn you all a couple of domain tomes. As you all come to land, I imagine Hermes the whole way down. Feet are just going, and you just hear Hermes saying the word "ah." Not really screaming, he's just saying the word "ah" on the way down. But all of you are able to land because of the aid of the Featherfall. And you find yourself in the forest. All around you is signs of a very active forest. The like I said, you can hear the sounds of birds, lots of different wildlife. There's many tall trees. You landed into a little bit of a clearing. There's some vines draped around. But as you land, you remember from your view that you're sort of at the southern part, the southern tip of this new land of Thither. As you all touch down, what would you like to do?
Where are we in relation to the seasonal spot that we saw, the dead and decaying part?
That was bring up the map. Probably about anywhere, depending on how far. It's hard to judge distance accurately from there, but you figure it was probably anywhere between 15 and 20 miles to the north.
Oh wow. Okay. Do we are we aware of which of the hags lives here?
Morgort.
Guess we need to start asking.
Morgort is the bullywug is crouched down like a frog with hands and feet on the ground. Oh, I very much like flying balloons. I do not like falling from them. I'm really sorry about that.
Less ideal.
Still got here.
Well, thankfully to you. As for the hags, we are in the land of Thither. This is Granny Nightshade's lair.
Now, is there a hierarchy amongst them?
From what I know of them, each one would tell you they are more powerful than the others. Only one thing I know for sure. They are most powerful if they are all together.
Speaking of that, the last one, it turned into frogs. Is that to say that it's not dead?
I couldn't
No
say.
way of knowing, but that seems possible.
If you would like, everybody can make a perception check or an investigation check of your landing area.
10.
8.
22.
I got a dirty 20.
So Fig, Cantriel, and Talmud all got above 20. Talmud,
I got right at 20.
roll me a d8.
That is a 3.
Talmud, you find, as you're looking around this area where you've landed, what appears to be in the middle of a forest. No signs of civilization anywhere. You hear the rustling of what sounds like leaves at first, and then you realize it's the sound of parchment. And you kind of shift and you see one tree over was partially obscured, but you can see now clearly there is a parchment poster that has been nailed to a tree. You can see there is the drawing of what looks to be a young man with a very thick curly head of hair, and is depicted in with a very mischievous, devious smile, and written at the top of this poster, it says "Wanted" in all capital letters with 3 exclamation points. And below that it says "Will of the Feywild." Then there's the drawing, and then it says "Special Offer." And below that you see "Bring me this imp alive and unharmed, and I'll bury you up to your neck in silver." And then below it is signed Granny Nightshade.
Well, just to state right off, I have no intention of bringing a child to a hag,
No, I already like Will
but I'm
better
tickled at
because of
the
it.
idea of collecting her reward. And he kind of looks at himself, looks down at Talmud.
And I may be reading this incorrectly, but knowing this place, I don't know that I'd want to accept an offer to be buried up to my neck in silver, at least not from anyone here.
I'd be very careful with that phrasing if I were you.
Be willing to risk it if we wanted the money.
Do we really need money
I mean,
like that?
Not in the slightest.
It's honestly silver, and we have more gold than we know what to do with.
That part.
Talmud's gonna take the paper.
Okay. You have a Will of the Feywild wanted poster.
One thing both of these realms have had in common is they have dissidents against their rule.
Well, it was certainly clear as to why in the last place.
You know, if the hags are the ones that are in charge, didn't you say that, kind of looking towards Cantriel, that these things are evil? Shouldn't
Of course they are.
be. So
They're not. This isn't the natural setup, if you will. Evangeline, she was the one to hold order. Hers were the ways for this land. When you have someone come in and piecemeal the land itself, and then they each are vying for top billing, it's only going to create chaos and basically put it into ruin.
and of course, the common folk suffer. Well, hopefully, while we're doing all the things we're doing, we can set that right.
Morgort kind of recovers a little bit and says, "You may have a bunch of money, but I wouldn't mind being buried up to my neck in silver. It's a lot of money."
Yes, but you'd be buried.
Give him 10 gold.
You're going to give her 10 gold? This is at least... That's 100 silver worth. Now imagine...
Not quite,
Imagine if it were buried all the way up to here.
not quite, burying you in silver, but that's some, if coin is useful to you, and you need some, there you go.
Oh, thank you. What does the plan now? I had kind of hoped to take the balloon back.
Back to
Well, I
Heather.
think that's probably off the table.
Way off the
Feel
table.
comfortable making your way back through the forests to the swamp?
I can't imagine we flew in more than a few miles, and it's directly that way, so I do.
No? Then, I wish you luck and a safe journey.
Maybe I can find
You're
the
welcome to
balloon.
come with us if you're not confident.
I like my chances better on my own. No offense. You'll get into a lot of dangerous situations.
That is true.
Well, and she flicks one of the gold coins in the air and catches it. Yeah, she catches it. And turns on her heel and says, "Well, good luck." And starts wandering in a way that sort of in the direction you saw the storm cloud balloon go.
After she takes like a hop or two, no more than that, Drown will say, "One more thing.
Yes?
If you get it into your head to turn any children into these hags, keep in mind more than just kings' heads can adorn that bridge."
You audibly hear the goal as
Good luck.
she turns and quickly moves. She moves out of sight quickly because she very rapidly is moving behind trees that keep trees between you.
So
She
Was
rolled a
she-
5. I wasn't even going to have you roll intimidation.
what Was she like, looking at her? Was that something she was even considering?
I mean, the idea of being buried up to her neck in silver did seem like a very interesting prospect, but she didn't really.
Just putting a little bit of reality in front of the idea.
Sure. I just, before I say something to you, Brown, I want to know what I'm reading from her.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an insight check if you want, but I would say on the surface, you don't think that she's not heading off in search of children.
It's a 24.
Yeah, she has no interest in hunting down children. She's more interested in finding her balloon.
Drown, do you ever take into account how big and I don't want this to come across, wrong, but terrifying you can be?
I was trying to terrify her.
She wasn't thinking about turning in children.
I feel like you should know better than most the effect that greed can have on someone's decision making.
Sure. There's still a sense of, who people are. One can have a sense of value in a thing that could really go a long way to help you out, but the steps aren't really worth it.
I'm just making sure she knows it's not worth it.
Sure. Just sometimes you need to tone it. Just saying.
How many truly desperate people have you known?
Probably only a few.
They'll surprise you.
Noted.
Maybe we should try to find the imp. Sounds like we would at least have a common enemy that way.
Well,
if for nothing else, to protect them and make sure no one's going to bring them into the queen or to the hag.
The only bearing we have is to that blight. Yes.
I think so. All these vegetables all look the same to me.
Perhaps we'll see someone we can talk to, or more posters that will give us any information about where to find this will.
Someone tacked this up here for a purpose. They had to have thought that people would be passing by to see it here.
Is there any
some kind of road?
They probably intended it for locals.
Is there a road? Is there anything?
There doesn't appear to be any obvious sign of a road. You can all certainly, anybody that wants to, can make a survival check or an investigation check as you start looking around.
That is a 19.
Maybe Cantriel track, because she's awesome at it.
For survival?
I think
Yes.
Thorgarn has the better survival.
Oh, I don't pay attention to that sort of thing. That's not my deal.
Oh no! Oh, I thought so. My bad.
No, I think
I
we
got-
established that Thorgarn had the highest survival in the group.
I have a +6 in survival.
She's got a +4. Ask her about her arcana, and that's a different story.
Or perception.
Perception,
Did you
persuasion.
say investigation would work or just survival?
Investigation will work as well.
I have a 17 investigation.
Okay. And what did you get again on your 19 on your
19.
survival?
Yep.
Talmud, roll me a dexterity check.
Is this a saving throw or just a check?
Just a check.
Okay. Ooh, that's gonna be fantastic. It's a 7.
Excellent. So you're all kind of looking around, trying to see any sign of a road or pathway through, and Drown and Thorgarn, you two notice something peculiar about 20 feet away, slightly to the north. As Talmud, I imagine you're looking around, and just kind of taking in everything, and all the vegetables that are around you, and you take a step backwards and you feel your heel slip off the edge of something, just enough to cause you to lose your balance, and you fall right on your ass on the ground. And as you're looking up at excuse me, at Thorgarn and Drown, I almost made it an entire session without screwing your names up. That's where Drown and Thorgarn, you see, looking down at where Talmud has fallen, he has fallen into a very large claw print on the forest floor. Big enough that he fits into the largest part of this claw print. And several feet away, there's another one, and another one, and another one. That's when you also notice that in this same vicinity, on either side of where these claw marks are, you see broken branches. And they still have that look of much lighter wood, meaning they were relatively recently broken. Not like within minutes, but probably within a day or so. Something big landed here, because you only see about a half a dozen of these tracks, and then you see where the ground is sort of clawed and churned, and more branches are broken away. With those checks, you can tell whatever it was landed and then flew away.
And the claw prints were big enough for Talmud to actually, like, when you say step down into it, how deep are we talking?
Just a couple inches. He rolled a 7.
I thought it was like he dropped out of sight.
No. He rolled a 7, so it's kind of like stepping off of a slight height difference on like a curb or something like that.
Totally get it. Yep.
And he's a dwarf, not a half giant like yourself.
No, when I mean it's big enough for him to fit in, I mean like he's on his butt in the middle of this giant footprint. I mean, these footprints are probably like 3 feet from heel to toe.
Right.
You have a nature person in the party?
You have an Eladrin from the Feywild.
Yeah, I mean, she's got history that might be helpful. They do have nature. It's not fantastic.
See if we can, try to identify what this foot is.
Maybe Arcana if it's a native Fey creature.
I leave it up to the DM.
Whatever you want to use as your skill. This is you're relatively native. You're native to this plane. So I'm going to give you advantage on this check because of your Fey ancestry.
Then I will do Arcana.
Rather unironically, Talmud kind of like stands up, puts his hands on his hips, and looks. Well, whatever it is, it's big.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Drown nods.
There you go. You can be Captain Obvious, and I'll be Captain Cantriel, and then they can figure out which one's the actual one. Okay, so highest was 29 total.
It is absolutely dragon related. As you kind of step in, now that you see this, looking at where these where these claw prints are, you are seeing the signs of these draconic footprints. You see the claw marks in the trees where it had grabbed hold with front claws as it was looking around. Maybe it landed hunting, you're not quite sure. You know of a very specific kind of dragon in the Feywild. They tend to be, with that check, you know that they tend to be solitary creatures, but they are no less dangerous than any other dragon, for they are the Jabberwock.
ugly things too. Somehow managed to look scrappy and scrawly all at the same time with these buggy eyes. Don't get near its mouth either. Looks like someone took a leech's mouth and just slapped it on something very, very big after enlarging it.
Disgusting.
Pretty much, yes.
So who wants to go ahead and take a bet on whether or not we're going to fight that at some point? Fig, you've got it? All right, good.
That's throwing money away. Always these things are gonna show up and try to test themselves against us.
Other than that, you don't see any other signs of an obvious road or anything like that, but you do see that where it had cleared the path, this particular area where it had landed and moved forward, you do see less of like a road, but more of like a deer trail or something that seems to kind of meander mostly northward. That would provide the easiest going if that's the way you want to go. All right. So you begin walking along through these through these trees and through this forest. Where did it go? Hold on. Too many tabs open. Okay. You are... Oh my gosh, where did it go? Oh, here we go. Okay. Sorry, I jumped around to too many places. As you continue moving north, you end up traveling from where you landed about 2 or 3 miles, pretty uneventfully. This deer trail kind of meanders around, and you see eventually there's this sort of large rise in front of you where a small rock, I wouldn't call it a mountain per se, but a very large formation of rock rising up out of the forest. And there's a couple other of these along the way, and this deer trail begins to meander around. It's the middle of the day, but it's shaded in the canopy of the trees, which makes it that much easier for you to notice the cozy torchlight that is radiating out from one of these caves. As you're sort of moving through where there's a large cropping of rock rising this way and another one over here, the one slightly to your left, you see where there's the mouth of a cave with the firelight coming from inside. You approach the cave, or you continue along the trail?
If possible, I'd like to kind of make just a little bit of like a walk around the area, just to see if I think maybe there's only this one entrance in and out of this cave, or if there might be like another way in or out. I don't know if that's something I could use stone cunning for.
I would say it would be more of a survival check, and
okay.
You also know, looking at where this cave is, to get a full circumnavigation of this after a few minutes of walking, you would have to walk the equivalent of several miles to walk around this large hill, mountain, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, scrap that idea then.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll again look at the ground and see if there's any tracks or anything on the outside of the cave, either leading out.
Survival. Drown, you were gonna say something?
I was just gonna say we've been talking about finding someone to speak with. There's fire in there, and then someone lit it.
I'm gonna use a domain die. That's 16 after.
Okay, domain die. And a 16 you said?
Yes.
So you surprisingly don't see any sign of activity outside of this cave. There's no footprints of any kind.
Is there like foliage that's kind of like overgrown?
Nope.
Okay.
After a few moments, you hear a voice from inside the cave call out to you. Hello? Who's out there? If
Is
you
speaking common?
Yes. Please do come in. If there's, I can hear you. It would be so lovely to talk to somebody other than myself.
Hello, the cave. I'll walk in.
Thorgarn walks in. Is everybody following?
Yeah, follow.
As you walk inside the cave, you don't get very far inside before you see it opens up and into a well-lit area sort of at the front of the cave. Kind of basically most of this light is coming from these torches that are burning on either side inside the cave mouth, and then it sort of opens up and you see torchlight reflecting off tens of thousands of gold pieces heaped all around the floor. In the midst of these stacks and piles of gold coins, you see a little wizened old man with a blindfold tied around his eyes, sitting at a spinning wheel. And he's working his feet on the spinning wheel, and you see him reach down into a pile of gold coins next to him. As soon as he touches the coins, as he lifts them up, you see gleaming golden fibers, and he, without looking because of his blindfold, he just expertly threads the fibers into the spinning wheel and looks in your direction, or rather faces in your direction. It sounds like there's quite a few of you here.
Indeed.
My name is Nib. Who do I have the pleasure of meeting?
I'm called Thorgarn.
Thorgarn.
I'm Drown.
Drown, you sound big.
I am.
I'm Cantriel.
Cantriel.
And I'm Talmud. He kind of like picks up the coin that was kind of like close to the mouth of the cave, kind of like holds it for just a second, and kind of pitches it back onto the pile.
Does Fig, did you introduce yourself or say anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You said you picked up a piece of gold and just tossed it back towards the pile?
Yeah,
okay.
Just one that was like, closest to the mouth of the cave.
As you do that, at the very sound of your fingers, touching the coin, his head suddenly turns. And when you toss it into the pile, you see him sort of relax a little bit. Well, there's quite a few of you here. It sounds like a regular adventure. What brings you to this part of the Feywild?
An irregular adventure.
An irregular adventure.
Said your name is Nib?
Nib is my name.
You seem to be spinning gold, is that right?
It is. I've led a cruel and heartless existence. I earned these riches you'll see around me by exploiting my tenants' misery and buying up condemned property and renting it out for an exorbitant fee. I used to do this in this city of splendor in Waterdeep. I was amongst the noble elite there, but I made my fortune on the backs of others. Granny Nightshade is helping me to make amends. I told her I wanted to put my bad deeds behind me and my ill-gotten gains to good use. She cursed me to dwell forever in this cave, spinning my gold into useful items for anyone who comes my way. So it appears my penance is your good fortune. Pray tell, might I spin you something? It is a gift freely given. A bag of holding, perhaps. Races of archery? Does one amongst you require a little extra skill with a bow? Or perhaps... perhaps somebody would like to move with the grace of an elf. He turns his head towards you, Cantriel. Not you, of course.
No, I have a lot of that already covered, thank you.
Or perhaps I could take requests.
What about maps?
Maps.
Detailed maps.
That is a rather mundane item and falls outside of my penance. And I'm afraid in my current state, I wouldn't be much use drawing a map.
About a fancy cloak.
A cloak. Perhaps a cloak of protection.
I was thinking more, out of game, more like a cloak of billowing. It's fun.
A cloak of billowing. I could do this. Give me but a few moments. And rapidly he starts pumping his foot on the spinning wheel pedal and begins working this gold thread through, and you watch as rapidly it begins to take shape. And even though the thread he's feeding into it is golden, what color does this cloak turn into, Thorgarn?
So I'm going to say it's... I can fully describe it. It's totally just like a dark cloak trimmed in orange with an orange anvil, Morden symbol on the...
After just a few quick moments, moving at a almost supernatural pace, you see the last of this thread go through, and he holds up the cloak and holds it out to you. You have a cloak of billowing now.
Love this item. So I'll, as much... I'll say thank you.
Can I interest anyone else in anything?
Perhaps a magic weapon of some kind.
Magic weapon. What did you have in mind?
Skill? A long or great sword?
Hmm. Anyone else while I ponder this? Have to look something up. Whoops.
Fig is watching Cantriel. He's like very unsure of this, just because he's had some bad experiences with people giving gifts. So he's looking to, looking at Cantriel to see what her reaction is, because he'd love to, but he's just not sure.
Yeah, Cantriel is honestly like sort of feeling this out entirely. She's skeptical. So once these are given, what's the catch?
There is no catch at all. This is my penance for living the life that I did. Until my wealth is completely spent, I must weave my gold into magical items for people. Unfortunately,
What happens?
they don't come by that often.
And if they decide not to take you up on your offer, are you further punished or given penance?
My penance is as great as my wealth once was. When it is all gone, then I shall have completed my penance. You are not obligated. It is my sins that I must atone for, not yours. But
What about a haversack then?
a haversack.
I'm not the bag type, but for the haversacks.
Ooh. That might... I might be able to do that.
I'm just thinking if you need to use up your wealth, it seems like something that would probably use a decent chunk.
It could do fairly well. He will begin picking up large volumes of gold, turning them into fibers. And Dan, I also want you, Drown, I want you to roll a D100 for me. And Cantriel, you can describe what the haversack that is knitted before you looks like.
I rolled a 62.
Okay.
It sort of takes on this color shifting sort of paisley print to the exterior of it, and it has this double buckled flap at the front of it and sturdy black leather straps so that she can wear it on her shoulders. And all the buckles are sort of this mix of metals, so it almost looks gold in one angle, silver in another, and copper in even a different light.
You may add a handy haversack to your inventory.
Okay.
Talmud like cracks his knuckles and he says, "All right, so I've heard tell of a belt that can give someone the strength of a giant."
I too have heard tell of these. I believe they are called a belt of giant strength.
Rather unironically, yes. I believe that is what they're called. It's the early days of naming things. It's very straightforward. Thundercats. He-Man. Belt of giant strength.
First I must attend to this, as he starts grabbing up handfuls of gold, and he begins weaving what, it's not very wide, it's very narrow, but it continues to form in front of you, and after a few moments he has created what looks to be if you made out of cloth a greatsword. Like, it looks kind of like a greatsword pillow. And he holds it out to you, Drown. And as he does so, it just kind of goes, oh, one moment. And he pulls a seam ripper and undoes at the pommel the seams, and he grabs fistfuls of coin and starts dropping them in. And as he does so, you watch as from the pommel to the tip of the blade, it just begins to form into solid metal. God, in this entire description, I've had to dance around so much while trying not to read what you are typing in the side chat. He has created a +2 greatsword for you, Drown.
Sweet. I will kind of take it in one hand, spin it around, test its balance, nod, and say, I appreciate this greatly, Nib. Thank you.
Talmud. He begins to do the same thing again, weaving these threads together, and you see this gold transforming into a very wide belt. Transforms into leather. It's very simple looking, and it has a bit of a rough quality to it. But after several minutes, it sort of falls off the end, and you see in the process of weaving, he's even woven the buckle and all of the metal parts of it, as he holds out before you a belt of hill giant strength.
He kind of takes it, looks at it approvingly, and immediately goes to put it on. Thank you. Well, this is a very fine gift.
And what of you? You have not asked for anything. He turns towards you, Fig.
Fig has been like looking at everyone else, just getting their items, and he's like, you can see him really trying to think about what he would want. He's like looking at his hands. He scratches his head. I am unsure. There are so many options, but I don't know what I would need.
Perhaps it's not what you need, but what you want.
But I have everything that I want. Fig just says matter-of-factly.
Again,
Right here.
you are not required to take anything that I offer. But you may.
He is going to think, and you could see him look down at his hands again. know. My hands, I have seen beautiful rings on others who have used it for magic. Perhaps that will add to what I want. He says very slowly and carefully.
There are many rings. Do you want to obscure yourself from others or protect your mind? Perhaps be able to jump better? Gain resistance to certain elemental types of effects? I've had tell even of a ring that you could use that allows you to attack as though you have a giant spectral ram. There are rings that store spells. Perhaps you'd like to walk on water?
Big just shakes his head to that one as he
Have you ever heard of the mage Stonky? He was rumored to have a ring that could let him levitate items. Quite the prankster, Stonky was.
Yes. That sounds quite humorous.
He takes a single gold coin and he very carefully turns it into a thread that he, as he runs it through, weaving it, it begins to coil in and around, and he works it very slowly, twisting and turning it, and in just a moment there is a ring of braided gold that twists and turns around itself. And he says, now this is of course not Stonky's actual ring, but it is a very good approximation. And believe it or not, you can search in inventory for Stonky's ring. And I'll leave you to puzzle over the second sentence of that description.
Oh no.
And we will of course check in with Rolo and Retcon if Rolo wanted to take advantage of this as well. Somebody please don't let me forget that. I've made a note, but I want to be sure to include Rolo. I would say also, while after you have your haversack, Cantriel, and anybody else that wants to make a perception check can, but Cantriel would absolutely notice this with her incredible passive perception. So if anybody wants to make a perception check while everybody else is having their magic items woven, you may do so.
Got a 17.
Okay.
You're 7 for drown.
What'd you have, Jeremy?
13.
Did you roll, Thorgarn?
Would you want me to roll?
Perception.
Yes. 5.
Okay. Drown and Thorgarn don't notice. What'd you get, Fig?
17.
Oh yeah, 17. So Talmud, Cantriel, and Fig, you notice as he is weaving these magic items, there's shadow of the cave behind him, And you can see where his gold is piled all around him. And even making all of these, he's used several 1,000 gold pieces to make these. There's still tens of thousands of gold behind him, if not hundreds of thousands. But you also see, from the flickering of the torchlight, you see the shadows sort of dancing behind him. And every once in a while, they take the form of apparitions behind Nib. You see at one point what looks like a grubby, wide-eyed child peering over Nib's shoulder. And then it recedes. Then you see a gaunt coachman looming in the shadows at the back of the cave. You see a woman dabbing at tears with a handkerchief. You see a very thin waif of a child looking like they are underfed with an eye patch over one eye. And these apparitions keep appearing behind him. Every once in a while, one will move forward and place a hand on his shoulder, and you see him sort of, while he's weaving, just kind of go... Or they'll brush up against him and he'll just kind of shudder. But he doesn't say anything. Do any of you say anything about these apparitions?
You have people behind you. Fix it.
I am aware of this. I am haunted by my own words. As long as my ill-gotten gains were put to good use, my bad deeds would remain behind me. You are beholding the restless apparitions of those I hurt. They lurk behind my back, tormenting me with pokes at my ribs and whispers in my ear. I can't bear to look them in the eye, not after what I did to them. Please do not. Though you may be tempted, and he nods his head slightly towards you, Talmud. Please don't take any gold, lest you take with you a curse. Perhaps not as bad as mine, but if you steal from this gold, you too will become haunted. I warn you now.
Talmud tries to kind of stifle a chuckle at the warning about any of us becoming haunted.
Two ancestral totem barbarians here.
Mom is still floating around. I didn't say Mom go away yet, and she can hang around for days.
Where will you go? Now that I have given you your gifts, you continue on your adventure. Where will you travel in thither?
Oh, here and there.
You've been to hither?
We have. We saw a wanted poster for someone called Will of the Feywild. Do you know of it?
Granny Nightshade is obsessed with capturing Will of the Feywild. He is a boy who helped a handful of younger children escape from Loomlurch. He has...
What is Loomlurch?
Oh, Loomlurch is a blight on what was once this section of Prismere known as Thither. It is rotten at its very core. It's where Granny Nightshade calls home. She has her workshop there. Will of the Feywild was one of her boys, one of her children that worked there, but he helped a handful of younger children escape, and well, now he's formed a group of rascals known as the Getaway Gang. They roam around in the forest protected by a treant named Little Oak. I know that
So,
Little Oak has a glade to the northeast. I can't leave the cave or I would show you, but
that is very helpful. Thank you.
Granny
Is
Knight.
that the direction?
Go
Is
ahead.
that the direction that we saw the blight?
The northwest is the blight. The northeast is where he's saying that the Getaway Gang and
The workshop is.
no, the workshop is where the blight is.
Oh, gotcha.
The northeast is where the Getaway Gang are under the protection of the treant, or rather, that's where the treant likes to hang out. Whether they're there or not, he wouldn't know. Granny Nightshade makes many children toil away in her workshop crafting toys. The creepiest of these toys she delivers to children in other worlds to fill their heads with nightmares, one presumes. She makes her deliveries on the back of a flying rocking horse. One other thing, if you intend to face Granny Nightshade, she has a large key protruding from her back. You can tell what kind of a mood she is in by how fast it turns. When she is happy and in a good mood, the key turns quickly. When she is upset, the key turns slowly. And if she is angry and has lost her temper, why, the key stops altogether.
Interesting. We appreciate the information.
I appreciate you stopping by to visit me.
I'm pleased we can take some of this weight for you.
Every little bit counts, as he seems to kind of not really see, but kind of look sort of over his shoulder at just the mass of wealth behind him. And you see 3 or 4 of these apparitions sort of move forward.
For what it's worth, Nib, a lot of us are haunted by the things that we've done in the past, and I think that if you're working to try to make it better, then that's all you can do. You're doing the right thing.
Can I ask you a question, Nib?
Yes, you may.
I am the first one to kind of accept your gift, which I appreciate, and I kind of it blows out and moves on its own, and I love it. Have you thought about what it is that your punishment for being greedy is to give in to other people's greed? Does that seem odd to you?
I don't see it as giving into other people's greed. Were you coveting a cloak of billowing? Were you...
Well, not really. I don't have a whole lot of need for things, but
I
there are
offered
times that
I offered to make it for you freely. And you accepted.
indeed
You have simply, as everyone else before you that has happened by and taken me up on this, you have fulfilled the old rules of reciprocity. You let me give you these items, and in turn you lessen my burden. As far as I'm concerned, you are honoring Evangeline's old wishes and rules.
So the reason I bring it up is, I mean, eventually we're going to get out of this place, but when things are done. You have a lot of wealth here, and I don't know how much travel there is, but would we be able to bring others back so that your burn isn't faster? Would that be acceptable?
All visitors are welcome. I am bound by the magic to only be able to provide one magical item per person, but as far as I've been able to learn, there is no rule as to how many persons I may gift.
So he turns to drown. How the helmet works. Do you wanna take us something from here in case we wish to bring others back to assist Nib?
Yeah, Drown will sort of look around and just take a piece of stone from the wall or break off the tip of a stalactite, something, you know.
Yeah, that'll work.
Just not a gold piece.
Nope.
I'm kind of wishing Nib hadn't told you about the gold pieces just now. As you travel forth, I wish you all the best of luck and give you one final warning. If Granny Nightshade offers you any sort of deal, do not take it. Her words
Nib,
are,
that's a given.
if only I had that knowledge when I made my deal. You're welcome to warm yourself by my fire for as long as you wish. Or continue on your way. And the camera sort of pulls back from this cave where you all are standing there with your new magical items and moves through the treetops and up into over the forest, and you see we see that blighted area some dozen or so miles off to the north, and we see the lake and the rivers, and we see a few random clearings in the forest where some of them have brightly colored mushrooms, and fae reveling within, dancing. And then from behind this view of the camera, we hear this as a large draconic shape, thin and long, flies past the camera and dips down towards the forest and curls off towards the north. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session. All right. That was session 13, Here to There. Thank you, V, for slipping in the title there near the end. It seemed a little too on the nose to call it From Hither to Thither, but I did it anyway. Yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight, and thank you to Buzz Lightyear for gifting out those subs and contributing to the pool of domain dice. In fact, I see that Buzz Lightyear is streaming right now, so in just a moment when we head out of here, we're gonna raid Buzz Lightyear, send everybody over there. But thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Be sure to tune in to Nerdarchy Live tomorrow night, where Ted will be...
Not live.
No, sorry, Nerdarchy. Sorry. Be sure to turn into Nerdarchy, comma, live. We're going to be live. I tried to save it. Tune in to Nerdarchy on YouTube, where Ted will be DMing Untraditionally Arcane, where I am one of the players in that, along with several others that are playing untraditional wizards. You'll have to tune in tomorrow night to see what that is all about. And then, of course, on Monday night, we return with Scribes and Scrolls. No, we don't. Sorry. We don't return this Monday, but a week from Monday. And I'm gonna tell everybody for the first time here, because we haven't made the announcement yet, but 1 week from Monday, we are introducing a new character and a new player, as M is joining the Scribes and Scrolls team on Monday nights. Who M is playing and what their character and class is, you will have to follow us on Twitter. We'll be revealing that soon, or just tune in on Monday nights. You can catch all of our VODs for all of our games, including our recent charity games and all of that stuff. You can find on youtube.com/mini-terrain domain. I've been doing really good the last several months on getting all of those up within the week of when they originally aired, meaning this one will go up this weekend. So with that, one final thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. If you're somebody that hangs out in the chat, or rather hangs out lurking in the background and you don't participate in chat, thank you. We appreciate you all the same. And if you, or rather, not if you, you are, all of you amazing players that I get to play with every week. I love playing this game with you. We've played it for so long together, and it's always a joy. Trying to type at the same time that I do that. I want to get this raid ready. But a huge thank you to V, Dan, M, Ted, Jeremy, and though she wasn't here with us physically, she was in spirit, Katie, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for a couple of hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.
Whatever it is, it's really big.
Yep.